Learning more about why the city of Buffalo pulled the plug on a program that allowed residents to apply to get back money that was owed to them after their foreclosed properties were auctioned off by the city. Now, this is a story that our nonprofit partners at Investigative Post have been following for the last 6 months now. Now, the city has yanked the webpage and said that the program is under review. Well, this was just days after a lawsuit was filed against the city. In many cases, these properties brought in much more cash at auction than what was owed in taxes. So in 2019, the annual auction made the city about $4.3 million, far more than the $700,000 that was owed. This one house on Fargo Avenue went for $131,000 in surplus alone, and the former owner wanted his cut. The Rochester attorney who represents him said, quote, "It's like the city decided to take their ball and go home." Joining us live in studio is Investigative Post reporter Geoff Kelly, who has been on this story, as we mentioned, for a long time now. Jeff, always great to see you. So this program is under review. The website all of a sudden is no longer there. Not that much was happening when the website was up there from before. I know there were complaints about that. What are you learning about just, what happened here and these claims that continue for people trying to get their money back?
Well, so a quick primer on what changed. 4 years ago, the city changed the process by which it auctions foreclosed properties so that the city could keep the money. Prior to that, it had gone to the county, and people who felt they were owed money, whether it was homeowners or banks or a construction company with a lien, could file a claim in county court. That changed in 2019, and good government groups and the Common Council said, wait a second, you could be taking equity that families built up over decades in these properties and make their financial problems worse. So they asked for the city to design a program so that homeowners could apply to get that surplus money, like the guy on Fargo. They finally published that process in 2021. Claims were filed last year. This one attorney had 20 claims by himself and on behalf of clients, and heard nothing. Not a response, not an acknowledgement. And then finally, this attorney filed another lawsuit saying, hey, judge, tell the city they have to decide yes or no on these applications. And at that point, the city, in a court document, said, on second thought, our whole program is illegal. We're going to keep the money, but we must keep the money. Otherwise, it would be a gift of public funds. So all of these applicants are sort of left holding the bag with no answer and no recourse.
Yeah, it really is just fascinating because on the surface of it, right, it seems like if you owe the city back taxes and they go through the foreclosure process, the city would get owed its tax money, and then presumably the person would get the money back. But the city is saying here, I guess, they did some due diligence and went through the law, went through the process, and just found that that's not how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, perhaps, although it seems interesting that they only determined this once claimants came forward. The city lawyers designed this program, and it's city lawyers who decided just in the last month that the process they designed breaks the law.
So these homeowners, you imagine, are pretty upset that this program is now under review. And even some people in City Hall have been pretty frustrated with the lack of communication and transparency from the administration. I know that you talked with Council President Reverend Darius Pridgeon, and here's a little bit of his surprise that this program got pulled. Listen.
We were not informed that this would not be paid to people. So if this was utilized in the budget, I'd be very disappointed to hear that. What the city cannot do, I feel, is be silent and shut down now. Even with a lawsuit, there are still people, a home is for some people the greatest wealth they have.
So what is the status then of this currently right now, Jeff? If there's pending litigation, you imagine there's this pot of money that's sitting there. I wouldn't think that the city is necessarily planning to spend that on something else at the moment, right? Because there are still just all these questions.
You would think that, but you'd be wrong. Oh. According to the city controller's office, that $3.6 million in surplus was credited to the city's general fund back in the fiscal year that ended 2020. That is to say, it was used to balance the budget that year. If there is no avenue for people to make claims now, but if they did somehow and succeeded, that money would be paid out of the fund that we use to pay settlements and claims, to settle lawsuits against the city. But right now, that money is basically gone. It's been spent.
Before I run out of time, Geoff, is it safe to say, in listening to what the council president said there, that there wasn't just a lack of communication with the people trying to get this money or with the public writ large, there was a lack of communication with the council?
That's right. And Darius Pridgeon filed a piece of legislation last year asking for answers on this. He has filed another one, basically asking for an inquiry into this whole process, which will be on the council agenda tomorrow, Tuesday.
Well, it is a lot of money that, that there are some people, out there who believe they are entitled to it. The city now with a different perspective. 6 months of reporting, Geoff, it looks like you got a little more. So yeah. We'll look forward to the next update. Thank you.
Thank you.